Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to At the Controls, the new TWiT video game show. I am Glenn Rubenstein.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Brian Brushwood, totally driving safely.
And this is episode .5. Sometimes I feel like half a man, and this is half a show. This week, we're going to be talking about some video game news, and it's our special E3 previews and predictions episode, where we're going to go over all the things we're looking forward to at next week's Electronic Entertainment Exposition, held at the Los Angeles Convention Center from June 7th to 9th. TWiT will be there live next Tuesday. You can tune in all day and hear us streaming from the show floor. And, of course, next week we'll be back with our wrap-up to talk about what we actually saw. But for today, we're looking into the future and seeing what's on the horizon.
And this is a very special show because Brian Brushwood is driving and live streaming, talking to us on Skype. So what could possibly go wrong?
With that.
Terrible idea.
It's a new video game I like to call playing dice with my child's life. It's a lot of fun.
That's also a game.
High stakes.
It's very I don't know, like a Rockstar game waiting to happen, I think.
yeah, it is. I have a question. So this is, since we're going into E3, I would love to hear from you guys what your past E3 experiences were. How many years ago was the last time that you went to E3, and what was your first time like?
God, I guess my last time going to the show was 2005, I want to say. I think...
I have yet to go to one of these shows.
It's interesting. I went 2005. That was before I got caught up in all this online video detour that I had for a few years, working on Lonely Girl 15 and some other series, and kind of stepping away from video games for a while. But my first E3 was the very first one in '95, although my first trade show, really the predecessor or the precursor to that, would have been CES, covering video games. That would have been January of 1991.
Wait a minute, Was 1995 the first ever E3?
I want to say that's the year the first one was.
Oh my gosh, and that's back when it was at Atlanta, right?
No, it was Los Angeles for 2 years, then Atlanta for 2 years, and then back to Los Angeles.
Okay, because I went twice, and both times, the first two times were in Atlanta. We drove.
It was a time and space bending experience.
Here's the industry only thing, and we certainly. Yeah, well, it was, and it was. What's funny is we had to make a company name to get into the video game industry, so we made up fake business cards that had Logan Inject 1 as our business name, and came marching in, and it was like, I mean, we were very much fanboys. Just overwhelmed by the awesomeness of everything. You know, we won free video cards, and I remember going, like, Sierra had it wasn't on the main show floor. You had to get on a shuttle bus and take it over to this other group.
Yeah.
And part of the Sierra group was Valve was there. It was the first time I met, and Steve Bond, who I believe is still one of the higher ups at Valve. And he full-on gave us a 30-minute demo to Half-Life. Now, Half-Life eventually didn't come out for another, 2 or 3 years, but we were so blown away. The thought and the AI that went into it, the storytelling of it, that game stuck with me. And to this day, I don't know how I got it. I think Steve Bond gave me his card and then also Gabe Newell's card. So I actually have Gabe Newell's card from Valve. So it's amazing to watch their success and remember, I was there and I met them before they turned into anything.
Yeah, I think, my first experience was back when, PC gaming definitely had a presence, but really, for CES at least, it was all about Nintendo, Sega, and at the time, NEC with the TurboGrafx system.
That's the old days. Now it's all about the PS3, which is... PSN is back up. Yes,
PSN's back up. I feel like, it's such a repetitive story, and I was going to say we should almost, bury later in the lineup that PSN's back, but I feel like it's responsible journalism since we've led with PSN is still down. Let's lead with the positive of, PSN, the store is back up. I got my LA Noire downloadable content. Finally.
Did you get the welcome back package?
I did look at the welcome back package. I haven't downloaded anything yet.
I've heard there's trouble getting the actual...
Because everyone is blitzing it.
Yeah, so they're going to have to apologize again.
But for people that don't know, if you're a PSN subscriber, part of their Sony's Make Good plan, you can get any 2 of the following PS3 games for free as part of their welcome back, which includes Little Big Planet, the first one, which is fantastic, Infamous, which is great, especially now that Infamous 2 is coming out next week, You could get Wipeout HD / Fury, Ratchet and Clank, Quest for Booty. Oh, that's Europe only, though. Dead Nation, and then Super Stardust HD.
Yeah, different nations have different
some slight
configurations
variants.
of games. Yeah. I think everybody gets to get 2 games for free. There's all kinds of free content available right now because Sony's trying to make up for
Sony is desperately trying to win you back. Well, much like an absentee father that shows up on your birthday and gives you a Nerf football, Sony is trying to win back your love and affection.
That's one way to put it, I think. They also are trying to distract you a lot. They're showing off the NGP. Yes. And the Sony NGP, which everyone's pretty much calling the PSP2, or the name might be the Vita.
Oh, no, it's the PlayStation Vita.
The Vita.
It's the Vita.
That's what was actually found in a code? Was that officially?
People have found it, and, I know some people that work at Sony that gave me a no comment that told me...
one of those no comments. So the PS Vita is the next generation gigantic, from what people are saying. It's a very large PSP or NGP or Vita. It has a 5-inch screen. And Sony put up a bunch of videos so you can actually see how it's performing. The games look really good. It's almost console-like.
Oh, no. I mean, well, it's very console-like. I mean, in terms of the quality. Do we have, I didn't include a link to the video, Alex, but do we have the video of Uncharted 3 being played in that article?
Well, in the CNET video, in the CNET article, there are numerous videos. I just pick any of them right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's loading up for you or not. But, I mean, it looks good. I think what's going to be interesting, though, about the PS Vita, which, man, I hate that name.
I think it's something that we'll all get used to. The Wii is a stupid name.
Wii's not that stupid of a name, though.
PlayStation also sounded very...
The Wii was a terrible name. And here's the thing. Names always sound stupid until suddenly they stop meaning all the things you think that they mean, and instead they just... Like the iPad, everyone thought was a stupid name. The Wii, they thought was a stupid name. And they were bad names until now they mean those items. They
take it from a guy named Iyaz. The name is irrelevant. When it's associated with something, it's what you are. The Vita, I think...
It reminds me of Vio. It's kind of...
They might... I'm sure it's going to be in the ads. Like, revitalize. I'm sure there's a lot of words that have Vita in there. They're going to use it like Sony does everything and revitalize.
PlayStation is very Walkman. If you look at Sony and sort of the branding. But let's look at, just a quick history of every portable system that's there. I mean, there's been the Game Boy. There was the Atari Lynx, so that's kind of a little esoteric.
The Game Gear.
Game Gear, that makes sense. The TurboGrafx was the Turbo Express.
That's right.
Was their portable.
That made a lot of sense.
So then we get to Nintendo. There was Game Boy
Advance,
DS. Advanced
DS. Lite, DS Lite, DS
3DS.
XL, XLI.
PSP, PlayStation Portable makes sense. So what I'm saying is just in handhelds, hell, let's even go for the Nokia N-Gage, which was a terrible platform, but that's a good name. N-Gage,
Well, maybe Vita works in an international kind of realm.
Yeah, no, and I get that. I just think it sort of breaks that cycle because with portables it's much more limited, sort of what they've been called.
Here's what you want to focus on. Before Toyota launched the Lexus brand, they actually sent out surveys. They said, what would you rather buy a car from? Would you rather buy a Toyota Supra, like Supra, or a Lexus? And of course, the word Lexus didn't mean anything to anyone. So they're like, well, I'd rather have a Toyota Supra or whatever. It was like the awesome Toyota, Super Toyota, or something like that. But it was like when you first look at it, you're like, oh, well, of course I would want this because it's a brand I know plus the word super. But then instead, it turns out that, of course, they went with Lexus instead, and it turns out that was the right thing to do because you want a name that connotes general qualities of it. And in the case of Lexus, it has kind of a luxury sound to it, and it denotes it sounds fancy. That's all you want. And with Vita, and I know, Vita, we think of life, or maybe we think of, the terrible Ricky Martin song from the 90s. But in general, you think of vibrance, and it's a blank canvas for them to write and define what this is. So this is what we always do. We always mock names until all of a sudden we stop mocking them.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
And there's news that Michael J. Fox has rejoined Back to the Future, but in video game format because there's not a sequel. We're not covering movies. We're covering video games here.
Well, for those of you, Telltale Games has been doing their Back to the Future games for PC, iPad, PlayStation 3, and I believe Xbox 360. Now, they got a really good sound-alike. An unknown actor who actually submitted his own voice file of him doing his impression of Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. AJ, how do you pronounce that? Locascio?
I would say Locascio.
Locascio.
But I would say
and this guy sounds fantastically like Michael J. Fox did in 1985's Back to the Future.
To be honest, what's weird is when you play it, he sounds like Marty from 1985, but meanwhile, they actually got Christopher Lloyd, and Christopher Lloyd has aged 30 years since then. So Christopher Lloyd does not sound as much like Doc as much as this guy does. In fact, we've played through all of these games. Penelope and I have, that's my daughter behind me. We played through all of them, and in fact, like for my daughter, this is as substantial a part of the Back to the Future experience as watching the first 3 movies is.
Yeah, I played through the first episode in its entirety. I've been waiting for the last one to come out because, they're kind of short. You could play through start to finish in about, 2 to 3 hours each episode?
Easily. Yeah. Each chapter, yeah.
So, I really liked Chapter 1. I thought it was definitely better than the just terribly, just atrocious Back to the Future games that came out before.
So what do you think about actually getting Michael J. Fox back, considering I think he's done a couple of parody videos for Back to the Future?
No, I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. It's a big get for Telltale. Now, he's not actually doing the voice of Marty McFly in this cameo. He's doing the voice of one of Marty's ancestors. Do we have the video queued up, Alex? We can see the scene. Game Trailers broke this today with the actual, if you go that time, you can just watch this.
That's good. I like the kid who's playing Marty McFly.
Well, here, let's listen to this.
Doc, did we just leave Hill Valley?
And that's AJ.
I'm sorry, Marty.
Well, now you two look at my lost. Hey, what on earth is that thing?
Well, the video froze there, but that was
the audio continued.
The audio continued. So that was
footage and trailers for Metro.
So that was Michael J. Fox's voice there.
That was a nice little cameo then.
Yeah. So it's good that they got him for it. I think it's great. but the guy that they got that sounds like him. And just what a great story in terms of it just being a fan that emailed into Telltale Games saying, "Hey, I've always been told I do a really good impression of Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future."
It pretty much sounded like Back to the Future, the actual movie.
When they adapt Bright Lights Big City or Casualties of War into a video game, I think this AJ kid's got a future.
They can also, the Frighteners could be a game.
Thank goodness.
The Frighteners are not exactly a well-known Michael J. Fox movie. But then we have news from THQ. They've renamed their whole WWE series. Used to be, I think, SmackDown versus Raw. Now it's called, or is it Raw versus SmackDown?
Well, yeah, and now it's just WWE 12.
As in the year.
And I'll tell you why I put this in a news story, because what I miss is that before they went to SmackDown versus Raw, they just had terrible subheadings, sort of
like No Mercy?
Well, no, let's see, some of my favorites here. What's some of my favorites here? We got WWE SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth. WWE SmackDown.
That's a real title?
That's a real title. WWE SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain.
Once again, SmackDown doesn't sound. That's not the silly part to you guys, right? Like that used to be a silly term.
WWE SmackDown. You go to your room right now, and you do not finish it. No, you don't get any dessert.
No,
Shame on you.
But then there was WWE SmackDown. Know your role.
Oh, those okay.
Just bring it.
As a professional wrestling fan,
yes.
That's right. I am one. Those are just catchpatches that they were used a lot for the wrestlers. That made a lot of sense because how else would you differentiate it?
But it's just so silly. It's so silly though. Why didn't they just?
The whole thing of professional wrestling is silly. Let's get that straight.
Well, let's.
Okay.
That's semantics.
Let's not go there. Let's talk about actually what's going on with WWE 12.
But they're changing it. So I like these games a lot. Now I like wrestling a lot in theory more. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how I feel about like the band Kiss. Like I'm a huge Kiss fan in theory.
Right.
I might not like every Kiss song, but still I'm on board. I mean, come on, the fan club is the Kiss Army. How can you go wrong with that? So with professional wrestling, having grown up with it, like I don't watch it all the time, but when I do, I still enjoy it enough, and I get, I get something out of it. And I love watching stuff like the Bret Hart documentary,
Wrestling with Shadows.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
And this video game is supposed to address a lot of physics issues that existed in the old previous games, where you would have. If you were doing a signature move, people might kind of warp to the center of the ring. It was
a little clunky. It didn't feel as smooth.
You couldn't interfere in a match properly. And in this kind of case, they're talking about like if somebody's suplexing somebody else, a third person can interfere. It's supposed to be much more realistic physics.
Which is cool that they're kind of upping the gameplay, because the Twitch factor, I think, has been what's lacking in terms of just really responsive gameplay. I'm looking forward to it. I play the WWE games every year. I enjoy them. I like making my own wrestler. Yeah, I like choosing what they call him when he comes out,
A lot of it, it's like, if you like fighting games at all, Street Fighter, that old series, it's a similar kind of idea. It's a fighting game, even though it's based on real life people playing wrestling.
Now, my hope when I get to look at this next week, although it'll spoil it for me because I'm going to miss it next Monday because I'm going to be out of town, but I'm hoping that they have the winner of the new WWE Tough Enough in this game, which if you haven't been watching that,
I bet that's
USA,
downloadable content.
Have you been watching the new series?
I've watched a couple of episodes.
The new one is some of the best television.
It's very reality television.
But it's very compelling reality television.
Yeah, it's very well produced to the point where people that were not interested in wrestling probably would like it.
Like my wife loves it. And my wife is not a wrestling fan at all, but we watch Tough Enough every week.
Does your wife like Facebook?
Well, who doesn't like Facebook?
Well, because, I mean, OnLive apparently is going to go to Facebook now.
Yes.
So we have OnLive announcing a deal.
You're the king of the transition.
I am not the king of the transition. There's somebody else who's got that role, usually sits in this chair, and it ain't me. So let's talk about Facebook. There's a deal with OnLive actually announced a deal that this is before E3. They decided to say, hey, tell you what, we're going to tell what we're doing. They're going to be working with Facebook to the point where you can play games on Facebook or via Facebook. If you don't know about OnLive, you probably do know about OnLive considering you're watching our show.
Yeah.
Cloud gaming, okay? So instead of getting those really ridiculous Farmville, Mafia Wars invites, you get to get much better game invites, I'd imagine. What do you think of the idea that OnLive going through the effort of joining with Facebook? I mean, Facebook's got 640 million users.
I mean, it's huge. It's like what they should have done with like the Quake Live, you know, be able to, I mean, because that's something like Quake where you can launch in browser, you know, so being able to launch that through Facebook, I think that with OnLive, I mean, this is as integrated as it gets, right? I mean, because you see a lot of console systems integrating Facebook ability to like post or connect with friends in games. You've seen that functionality, but this is going the other way now. The idea that you're going to be able to embed games in Facebook.
You can also show brag clips. So if you want to show something that you've done, a kill of the week kind of thing.
And OnLive is great for that.
You can actually connect it to Facebook so you can share it immediately. It's a really intriguing partnership. I'm excited to see where it's going to go because I think it's going to get a lot of people that were playing those casual games from Zynga. They might actually start playing these serious games. And the other thing, because it's all cloud-based, you don't need to have a super amazing machine. You can
OnLive, look, I mean, it's definitely the future. You know, I mean, depending on your bandwidth, there are some issues that pop up in terms of responsiveness or millisecond lag time, which for some people I get is an issue. But the fact that they have this ability to essentially do cloud-based gaming and have it be comparable to playing games on a high-end PC or a console system, I mean, that's remarkable when you think about just the idea. It's a very powerful idea.
So I've got a question. I was really impressed to get hands-on with OnLive at E3 last year. I was really impressed that, you know, you're right. You can feel the gameplay feels just a little bit soupy in that there's this weird, barely a delay when you move. But on balance, I thought the technology was very impressive. But I expected to start hearing about more announcements from them, and they really haven't been on my radar for the last year. How are they doing financially? Are they seeing big growth? Are they selling units at Best Buy, or what?
You know, we were talking about this in the pre-show because I mean, I have an OnLive console, but I got it as a bonus for pre-ordering a game.
The weird thing is I was checking out the site today in preparation for another show, and I had trouble finding how to actually get this little console. And the other thing is they were really pushing the fact that you can download their client on a PC, on a Mac,
now,
on whatever.
They charge for the games, but there are some free games, and here's something else they do. I think they give you like half an hour to an hour of free playtime.
Yeah, you can demo a lot of different games.
So you can demo just about anything and get in there with it, and you can watch other people playing games. I mean, if that's your
tablets
thing.
And things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's but by all means, it's not a perfect service. But when you think about the idea of it and where we're going, it's the future. Because I mean, think about right now where, you know, if you buy a game, you have to download and install the game, and for some people that's an issue. It's not an issue for me. It's not an issue for Brian. I'm sure it's not an issue for you, Iyaz. But for some people, the idea that you have to download like, you know, a 4 to 8 gigabyte file. You know,
forget the download. I'm thinking about you got to keep up on a graphics card.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Is it killing my machine? Is this happening? You don't have to worry about.
And I love PC games, but PC games it's not just buying a powerful graphics card. It is doing consistent upgrades, maintenance to make sure that you keep your top of the line gaming system top of the line to be able to play the new games that come out that are written to that standard. So with OnLive, it kind of bridges the gap.
Speaking about the future of gaming, Electronic Arts decided to come up with its own like kind of Steam kind of like thing called Origin. So I guess you can download games directly from EA, and they'll be taking care of it?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is essentially that it's set up to compete with Steam, at least is my understanding of it. So the idea is them to do a service where you can, they're saying in the Wall Street Journal, their story said it's, you know, kind of like iTunes, that will let consumers purchase, download, and keep track of games for PCs. And it's interesting because, I mean, we already have Steam, we have Direct to Drive, and then on the other end of the spectrum, we have stuff like Good Old Games.
Is this EA-specific games, or is this going to be beyond EA?
I believe it didn't really specify whether it will just be EA or not. But I
have to imagine that it'll be EA. I mean, this is the case where right now your two big portals for new games is you have Steam, of course, and then you have Impulse as what I perceive as a distant second. And then it seems like this is a Me Too service to jump in and make their own bucks. I got to imagine that they're going to start, because EA has a huge library of titles. It is unreal how many games that they have, and I can totally imagine them launching this. What's interesting to me, though, is about the name. As soon as I heard it, the first thing I thought of was Origin Systems, which was bought by EA. Right.
Yeah.
But EA bought Origin, so maybe they just had the name laying around and decided that they were going to be like, hey, let's...
That's true. I hadn't made that connection. They did buy Origin years and years and years ago. I mean, that was like a mid to late 90s acquisition?
Yeah, that's what made Richard Garriott his go into space money.
Do we know if EA is going to hold back its games for its own service instead of putting it out any other way? Or, I mean, how are they going to use this?
I don't think the full details have been released yet. At least not that I've seen. I mean, I think it's the announcement today. At least is, so, I mean, it's interesting. I think that it kind of sucks that it's also spread out. You know what I mean? I mean, we have Steam. We have, the idea that you're going to have all these different clients depending on which game you want to play, it would be nice. Right. And this is just me thinking and sort of speculating here, but I think with EA, them being such a behemoth in the software industry, if anyone could start, I mean, short of Apple, actually, why isn't Apple doing this now that I'm thinking about it?
That's the whole gaming issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's because you need a monolith to get in and create a marketplace that is across the board.
And on top of that, EA games really lend itself to the year-by-year kind of thing, downloading and downloading over and over again, because there are elements to games that you don't need to just re-download the entire thing. I mean, Madden 11 to 12.
Well, no, but it's going to be a full. They don't do updates. They do iterations.
I'm just saying, like, it kind of lends.
It's a good idea
if it's not interactive. If it's constantly evolving, that's a lot of the games do that. You could see how this would make a lot of sense for some.
But if they do like a patch, then they can't charge you full price each year. Which,
sure they can. Sure they can.
Charging you full price for a patch.
For very little. Yeah. It's okay.
So answer me this: is there a reason that they can't do something akin to the way Trillian did with instant messaging, where it's like you can't have, let's say you've got your Impulse account, your Steam account, your your Origin account, and then you just have some kind of meta program that accesses all those accounts and manages it through a third-party API.
You got to imagine that some web service is going to get on that pretty fast. I mean, there's a lot of things that do that for online video. For this kind of meta thing, you'd probably imagine that you'd need some kind of API access, and that probably depends on whether if Valve wants to open up Steam, if EA wants to give out APIs for this. I'm sure if there's a demand, it probably will happen. But then again, they have no reason to do it, right? You'll download Origin anyway because you want EA games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if I just had to speculate with it, I think it's them making... I think they're going to make a play to compete with Steam. That's just my hunch based on...
Do you think we'll find out anything at E3 about what they're doing with this?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there'll be more details, but I mean, it's interesting that a lot of companies are doing their big E3 announcements
before
E3, I mean, we've seen a move towards that a little bit more in recent years, but I think that people are trying to get the jump on it. I saw the Wall Street Journal story today. So, I mean, it's definitely from a business point of view, it's something that I think will add to their portportfolio.
So E3 starting on Tuesday of next week.
Tuesday, yeah.
And there's
press conferences
a whole
Monday.
lot of excitement and a lot of videos leaking out ahead of time.
Oh, definitely.
What's got you excited about E3 this time? You're going to hang out with Schwood. You guys
Schwood and I are sharing a room.
Live on TWiT. Leo's also going to be there. You guys are going to have a good old time.
As good of a time as someone could have at E3. It's a sort of a love-hate
thing. Schwood will bring it down, but what are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, obviously the new Nintendo system. Project Cafe or whatever it's going to be called.
This rumored has like a touchscreen controller. Theoretically, it's going to be basically a Wii.
This is either going to be awesome or the biggest disappointment of all time.
So it's either Virtual Boy or the Wii.
Yeah, virtual. I found mine in the garage. I was cleaning out the garage a couple weeks ago.
I think the word disaster still fits Virtual Boy.
Yeah, I've got it and like 3 games for it. In a box with a bunch of my 3DO games.
I rented a Virtual Boy from a Blockbuster.
Yeah, I remember when they used to do that. It used to come in a case.
Yeah, like a big plastic case, and I sat there in a van when we were driving back trying to use this, and it was I needed to regurgitate after.
Yeah, I'm sure.
While you're in a car, Brian, you'd appreciate this. If you're driving and you're using a Virtual Boy, you might want to throw up. But they probably won't be doing that this time. So I was excited about Contra. I saw Konami had a video about Contra. I used to play Contra way back on Nintendo. I loved that game. And to see it's still going, it's just so much fun for me to see that.
But I've not loved any Contra as much as I loved the first Contra.
Yeah, I think that's a nostalgia factor, unfortunately.
It is. Okay, but question, when you say the first Contra, do you even mean the actual video game arcade unit, or do you mean the version on the NES?
No, the first NES version.
The NES version.
First NES version of Contra is by far my favorite.
And Brian has stopped moving. He is no longer a mobile unit. Thank you.
I'm still driving. I finally just rolled the background in the car. It's I'm gonna honk a horn now.
Fantastic. So the emergency is not an airbag; it's a microphone. I quite like that.
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
In case of accident.
Yeah. Well, okay. So out of everything at E3, and I know I sound like a broken record on this, but maybe I'm pinning too many hopes on this. But I want so bad for Star Wars: The Old Republic to be not only not only another awesome romp through the KOTOR universe, but I want it to save Star Wars for me. It's we've already discussed before. It's like I've been disappointed in just about everything I'm seeing in the movies, and this is a chance for them to tell a story that makes me fall in love with the universe all over again. And this year, it's finally going to happen. And plus, it's been a good 4 years. City of Heroes was the last MMO I truly loved, so I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for me to get back into the MMO game as well.
Why are you pinning your hopes so much on this one particular Star Wars-based game? And we know Glenn is sick of Star Wars.
The Force Unleashed was okay.
Was that the one for Wii? The one where you actually did the sword fighting? Was that
it was multi-platform.
Okay.
So, and Force Unleashed 2
that was the one where you were evil. You were an apprentice of Darth. Yeah.
I like the production of that. I thought that was one of the better, of the newer generation. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like X-Wing, and the older.
Dude, TIE Fighter was the best. Where Grand Admiral Thrawn was actually in the game. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I'm still curious.
Or Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron was.
Your
good.
Fascination with the Old Republic confuses, I think, everyone.
Yeah, because the Old Republic is an interest. Of the Star Wars universes, of the different time periods. Brian, what is it about the Old Republic that really does it for you?
Because it's the one that George Lucas has the least to do with.
There you go.
And it's like, I don't mean this in a nasty way. I'm just saying, like flat out, the folks at BioWare, they wanted to tell compelling stories. They wanted it to be in the Star Wars universe. And George Lucas was like, hey, I wrote all these characters. And they're like, that's fine. We're going to tell our story over here in blank canvas land. And they've nailed it, man. They captured everything that's great about the original trilogy with a completely different narrative set in a completely different place with completely new characters. And I'm telling you, man, BioWare is batting 1,000. We see what they do with Mass Effect. We see what they do with Knights of the Old Republic. And with that kind of track record, I'll tell you how I feel. I feel exactly about the Old Republic, about how I do when Bethesda announced they were going to be taking over the Fallout franchise. Because I loved Fallout 1 and 2. And it killed me that, they went in these bizarre other directions for the Fallout franchise that ultimately flopped at the box office. But the whole time I played Elder Scrolls Oblivion, I was just so amazed with the immersive world, and all I kept thinking was, they get Fallout, they get Fallout, they get Fallout. And that's the excitement I have with people who know how to tell a good story, an engaging story, and it happening to be one of my all-time favorite franchises, or at least was when I was younger. And the chance to get that back again is what has me so stoked.
Well, speaking of Elder Scrolls, are you looking forward to Skyrim?
Sure. Question mark?
Sure? Question mark?
Obviously not as passionately as I am about Star Wars: The Old Republic.
You're just going to be camped out at the BioWare booth the entire time.
I will, and I have in the past. But I'm going to see everything. I'm excited about all the games, man. I like games.
Since you're excited about everything, have you seen Gotham City Imposters? I saw this concept out there where everybody is sort of Batman. You're not Batman, or you could be on the Joker's side, so you can dress up as the Joker, dress up as Batman. Basically. This is a multiplayer game?
Yeah, it's a multiplayer shooter. I actually thought it was kind of a joke when I first heard. When I first saw the title, I was like, this is some knockoff game. It can't really be a licensed property. It's a real game. Which
you can decide to dress up in hockey pads and basically like the Dark Knight. It's Batman Incorporated, kind of, without being sanctioned.
It looks kind of cool.
It's a weird concept for a game, I gotta say.
But I'm looking forward to playing it.
It looks, if you ever wanted to pretend to play dress up, this is the game for you.
Yeah.
Pretend like you're going to pretend to play dress up. Right.
And I'll tell you, and maybe it'll have more of, I mean, surprisingly, DC Universe Online is a very Batman heavy game. I mean, there's all the DC Universe, but a lot of the stuff in there is Batman heavy. But I think that the Batman Incorporated Batman family feeling was not very well integrated into the game. You know, I mean, you can have Batman as a mentor in DCUO, and I do on one of my characters, but it's, you know, you can have the Joker as a mentor, but it's not as, I mean, this looks way more, well, first off, this looks much more like it's going to be an action game, a lot more sort of run and gun, but then I like the variances in the concept art that they've shown the screenshots so far.
Yeah, there's different sized Batmen, different sized Jokers. I mean, the real thing is, I'm kind of curious to know, is it going to be like, what kind of physics are we going to see? We're going to see some kind of like NBA Jam style physics where you can do all kinds of crazy things, even if you're a 600-pound Batman.
It's one that I'm looking forward to.
Make it realistic. Like, let's say, look, you can't just jump from building to building when you're this character because you're too big. You're too small. You know, this kind of thing. I'm kind of curious to see how they're actually going to execute this. It did look like a joke when I saw it. I thought it was an April Fool's kind of thing.
Or I thought it was one of those, you know, just knockoff titles that they were going to try and get around, you know, using Gotham City.
License. Yeah, some Gotham City.
So when I actually looked at it, I was a little surprised. Back to Elder Scrolls for a second. Do we have some footage, I think, of that? I mean, everyone's talking about Skyrim. Everyone's looking forward to it. I mean, obviously the Elder Scrolls series has a lot of fans. A lot of people are looking forward to it. It's one that, you know, I'm really curious to just see it a bit more in action, but I've been very impressed with just how the graphics and everything looks from what they've shown so far.
So this game, it's for multi-platform. Is it PC? What is it?
You know, it's a good question. I believe PC is the lead platform, but also PlayStation 3 and 360.
You should have acted. They're already here. The Elder Scrolls told of their return. Their defeat was merely a delay. To the time after Oblivion opened. When the sons of Skyrim would spill their own blood. But no one wanted to believe they even existed. And when the truth finally dawned, it dawns in fire. But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he's Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
I mean, it's one I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a little more in action and actual gameplay of at the show.
The trailers did look great, but the question is how will it play?
Are we going to assume that this is pretty much the same type of gameplay as we got from Oblivion, same type of questing?
I think that's the assumption. I would assume that's the assumption.
You assume the assumption.
Did you play the evil questing side of Oblivion?
No, I didn't play Oblivion too much.
Oh no! I played all of the good side of everything, and then never played any of the evil stuff. I get all mixed up about like morally. I'm like, well, I don't want to kill the guy. He's just a little guy. I don't know what.
Of course, also Battlefield 3 is going to be at the show. I know they've released some gameplay from that. I guess we could just show some of that in B-roll without the sound. But no, I know a lot of people are looking forward to Battlefield. That's one that'll be fun to get some hands-on time with and actually play it a little bit.
So what can they do in Battlefield 3 that wasn't already done in Battlefield 2? Because I remember thinking while I was playing Battlefield 2, like, this is it. This is as good as the game possibly gets. The fact that one person could play commander and that every item, every weapon, every tank is available to anyone. Like, I don't know. I mean, I suppose you could offer more novel scenarios. But I would imagine that a lot of the effort into the game, I mean, of course, looking at it is beautiful, and I'm sure that the engine itself will be developed better. But I would imagine that so much of the effort has to go into play balance and storytelling elements and novel weapons or campaigns for you to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks to be just more the same with improvements. You know, I mean, having, but according to what's out there, I mean, it'll also reintroduce several elements absent from the Bad Company game. So there'll be fighter jets, prone position, 64-player battles, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, you could do 64-player battles. Wait, that's not 64 on a side, is it?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Yeah, because you could do 64-player battles with Battlefield 2 as it was.
But the graphics, I mean, seem just incredibly impressive.
From the chat room, KPT Kipper is pointing out that there's destruction of cover. So you could be hiding behind something and you could destroy that item that he's hiding behind. That's pretty awesome.
I like interactive elements. You know, that was my big complaint about Brink, was about the lack of being able to destroy your environment.
You wanted to be able to deform all the territory.
I wanted to be able to shoot the big fish tank, the big aquarium.
You say that every time we go anywhere.
Put that in a game.
I want to shoot the fish tank. You can't do that all the time.
In a shooter, nonetheless, if I can't shoot it and flood the stage.
When's your birthday, Glenn?
March 2nd.
Gonna buy you a fish
next
tank.
March 2nd, you're going to have the biggest aquarium you've ever been able to
March
shoot.
2nd.
It's going to be the greatest day of your life.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
All over the place. It's going to be great.
I'm just saying. So, no, I like the idea of having destructible environments. I mean, I think it'll be cool. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it, but that's definitely one that I want to see at the show. Another thing, everyone in the chat room is saying we got to show it. I have it on my list, but I added the trailer to the doc. I guess the trailer just came out on the last day for Tomb Raider, the reboot of Tomb Raider. For Tomb Raider, great franchise. You know, that's one of my first E3. I remember just, you know, it's rare that you have a third-party game of the show. Doesn't it seem kind of like that? Brian,
right.
Have you noticed that?
You know, I never pay attention to any of the awards for game
Not the awards. I'm just talking about the one that sort of really steals all the hype and the thunder. You know, I mean, third-party games sometimes, but it seems like first-party. If we had to bet going into E3, do you think that the game that is the one that everyone talks about? You know, I mean, first off, if you want to make a safe bet, just bet it's something by Nintendo. Because normally,
it always makes a lot of sense considering they can go, hey, look, we know what our hardware can do. We can figure out the game that'll do really, really well on our hardware. But, I mean, Tomb Raider.
I remember Tomb Raider the first time seeing that at E3. I mean, that was huge. That was such a
and then there's
big
so
game.
many knockoffs after that.
And they made so many bad sequels to it. So with this reboot, everyone... Isn't it funny, though, how you can run a franchise into the ground and then just take like 4 years off?
It's over. Let's do it again.
Yeah, take 4 years off and then bring
wasn't
it
that
back.
the story just a few years ago? Like, I thought the last Tomb Raider was supposed to save the fledgling franchise.
It's like the Hulk, I guess, then. The Hulk gets rebooted every couple of years in Hollywood, and Tomb Raider also has that kind of ability. It's supposed to be a very gritty style from the trailer. Do we have the trailer?
Yeah. Let's take a look.
When in doubt, dark, gritty reboot.
I hope the game is better paced than that trailer.
Yeah, the trailer's slow, but I see what they're going for.
Well, I mean, the thing
is, taking it back.
From the trailer, the difficulty is, okay, we're looking at a great rendered movie.
Yeah.
Right? But some really laughably bad dialogue.
Oh, definitely.
So the question is, who knows what exactly we're going to see as a gameplay? I mean...
Plus, also, was it just me, or did her voice, the narrator's voice, sound exactly like Bjork?
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm trying to look up. I can't find who's doing the voice because I know most recently it was Keely Hawes from the excellent British show Spooks and MI5, as it's known in the States. She was also in Ashes to Ashes. She did the voice, I guess, from 2006 to 2010, but I don't know who's doing the voice in the new version.
Well, the voice I think is of a little consequence considering if the gameplay is any different. I mean, if it's the same as the old games. And if it's the same exact stuff you've seen before, there's really no point in this other than the graphics look. If the graphics look anything like that trailer, which we have no idea if they will.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious, and that's the thing. And recognize again, just a disclaimer, what we're talking about today. We're talking about the things we're looking forward to seeing in E3.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the reason we're looking forward to seeing it is because it's put up or shut up time.
Right, because they had the reboots, they failed.
And anyone can make a nice rendered trailer.
But I think the technology is there. It could look almost that good.
But like maybe. At E3, like, you know, if Brian plays Knights of the Old Republic and it's terrible, he'll actually weep on the show floor at BioWare's booth.
To the heavens.
Absolutely. I will swear vengeance, and I'll put on a black mask, and then I'll bust out my lightsaber, and I'll start killing Ewoks.
So don't dress like an Ewok if you're going to E3 for whatever reason. Yeah. Brian might lose it.
Get beat around the head by a plastic lightsaber and a very sad, messed up Brian Brushwood, then yes.
Yeah, and, you know, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. On a similar note, I'm also looking forward to seeing Uncharted 3. which I guess there's some footage out now of the co-op trailer. We could just show that. We don't need to show the whole thing. We can just have it in sort of B-roll. But the Uncharted territory, in fact, I would say Uncharted's really stolen Tomb Raider's thunder.
Why would you say that?
Absolutely.
What advances has Uncharted done that Tomb Raider could have done that would have saved them?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Tomb Raider's the story was never the strong point.
Okay.
The idea there was a hot girl kicking ass.
That was the strong point.
That was the strong point, and it looked really good. Now with Uncharted, the story and the humor I think has been better integrated, and I think the gameplay is also a little more varied than Tomb Raider has been. I think that they have tuned the gameplay better. Now, of course, it's not. I mean, there's a history in video gaming of titles that were good, and then somebody did it better. Just kind of taking the same formula and improving upon it. And I think Uncharted is definitely that with Tomb Raider. One, they haven't run Uncharted into the ground yet. But, I mean, Eidos was doing, like a Tomb Raider game every year.
Yeah, it was back when I was still playing. So they were every year, and they were just...
And they it was just the same thing again and again.
It wasn't like no new advances at all.
Yeah.
Same much game. Oh, look, we changed a little bit of a background here.
Yeah, but it was, and actually, and what's really funny that... it's a shame it didn't do better, but I would have bet back in 2000 or so when LucasArts did the Indiana Jones action game that was Tomb Raider-esque, I would have thought that was going to be huge because that was taking the Tomb Raider cons. I mean, because it was funny because with Tomb Raider, they always referred to Lara Croft as the female Indiana Jones.
Right.
So doing an actual Indiana Jones game in that style, I thought that was going to be the best game ever, but it was just okay, and it didn't really catch on. But with Uncharted, I think that they did a better job with the story, with varying up the gameplay. And
the game's being mocked as Dude Raider. And the reason why it's so successful is the hot guy.
Well, and co-op, having co-op, I think also is something that,
And that is a trend that I'm really happy to see, especially on the console side. Co-op is something that PC gamers, it was part of the reason that I was always a PC fan over a console thing, but the fact that they're bringing much more of the co-op, and not just split screen in the same room co-op, but full on, network integrated, you and somebody else, through an Xbox Live network or PSN, having the co-op experience, I think is a very welcome trend.
Yeah, and I think, speaking of co-op, I don't have it on the list here, but I got the press release today about it's going to be a Star Trek game as a follow-up to the 2009 film
this time,
with multiplayer and co-op with Kirk and Spock.
As long as the third player will always be in a red shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to seeing that at the show. No material was really released aside from a screenshot, but I'm looking forward to actually seeing it at the show.
We'll be live streaming here at TWiT, so you'll see it.
Yeah, we'll be live streaming it Tuesday. Mass Effect 3, obviously. I think is in BioShock Infinite being shown.
Yes, BioShock Infinite is also easily one of my top 3 or 4 games that I'm looking forward to. I loved the dynamic of the original BioShock, and I love the fact that they were taking political themes and running with them. I think that they have a great opportunity, a brand new color palette. It's going to look way, way different. There's going to be differences to the mechanics of the game and a totally different story with BioShock Infinite. I think there's a lot of potential there.
And then a game I just read about today on Kotaku, Payday the Heist. Which is
I don't know anything about Payday the Heist.
I just saw it today, but it sounds cool because it's kind of a Left 4 Dead type mechanic, but you're playing as bank robbers or cops. So it's a multiplayer shooter. I know. I love heist movies. I love bank robbery movies and stories. So just mixing those together in a game, to me,
this makes perfect sense. This makes, from the perspective of the bank robbers, I mean, they're bad guys, but they have a job to accomplish, and then they have to escape, and swarms of police will keep coming at them as like zombies. So you can play as the police, where you've got a whole bunch of foot soldiers for them to shoot their way out. Is that the angle they're taking with it?
That's exactly the angle.
So the screenshot on Kotaku, it kind of looks Dark Knight inspired. A
little bit.
A clown masked robber in a bank in a very similar style.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I just saw that today, and when I saw that just from the concept alone, it's like I'm going to Sony's booth. It's going to be PC and PS3.
Awesome.
So that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So let's just, Brian, just give me, like, we know kind of what to see, what we can expect to see at the show. Give me sort of your wish list for some games to be announced just out of nowhere, whether it's sequels,
like
surprises,
new titles coming out
just
of
stuff
nowhere?
that just speculate. Like for me, for instance, if I had a wish, I want to see a surprise announcement that Rockstar is going to do Bully 2. That's like what I'm really hoping for.
You had mentioned that before, that you're a big fan of the Bully franchise.
So that's a wish list that I have. Another one I would love to see, this is never going to happen, but a really awesome game based on the best TV series of all time, The Wire. I just wish for things like this.
Possibly, but here's the whole thing. What made The Wire so great was how understated all the action was.
Third-person adventure game.
Realistic.
Third-person adventure game starring Omar. Think about it. Just putting it out there.
I mean, that would be great, but they would be cartoony and silly. And
Omar's Ghetto Batman.
Made The Wire great.
Ghetto Batman, the game.
Hey, spoilers. I haven't watched The Wire yet.
If you know, that's Omar's character. I mean, but you know that just from the first time you see him. That's Omar is a little unrealistic. He's the least realistic thing in The Wire, so he would be awesome in a video game. I'm just putting it out there as a wish.
Total Dream Fantasy is a full-on announcement for Half-Life 3, complete with footage, failing that, you know what? Weirdly, I would love to hear about some brand new property coming from a Valve or a Blizzard or some trusted source. If you wanted to, I mean, does Blizzard even bother doing anything at E3 now that they have their own BlizzCon?
No, they're going to be there.
Okay. Well, I mean, but I don't know if they really play the game or they just show up to collect their party favors. It would be amazing if, and this is, of course, everybody's wanted this for a decade now, but how great would it be if Blizzard were to announce a World of StarCraft type game?
Oh, yeah.
Other stuff. I would like to see another Fallout game. I'd like to see Fallout 3 was essentially retelling of the first story of Fallout 1 with roughly paralleled. It was relatively serious with a simple directive. Mm-hmm. Fallout New Vegas was roughly a retelling of Fallout 2 in that you had kind of a native and it was a bit sillier and a bit over the top and you could go more directions. I would love to see a new Fallout with a totally different story, something that we haven't seen yet. Yeah, everyone in the chat room is telling me Half-Life 3 isn't going to happen. Look, that was the question was. What
this is just pure speculation, wishes.
What about unreleased games? What if like these old games that were sitting around that could have come out?
Well,
maybe like a Penn and Teller game.
Yes, actually, that's actually the next point I wanted to get to. Again, king of the transitions, Iyaz.
Try.
That's why we have you here, because you keep us on schedule. If not, I think Brian and I did almost a 2-hour show last week.
Yeah, for the retro segment, we were talking about Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors, which was for the Sega CD, which was one of the few pieces of Sega technology I didn't buy. Because I thought it would fail.
I found my Sega CD in the garage when I was cleaning that out.
And it didn't do so well.
I found my Make Your Own Music Video in XS game in the garage.
I wasn't even aware that Penn and Teller had any video game contacts back then.
It was never released. This would have been CES 1995, I want to say, or 96 when I saw this game. It's probably 95, because I remember it was in Vegas. But and that's one of the great things about these conventions is because you see games a lot of the time. Well, not a lot of the time, but there's always some that are never released for whatever reason. And there's some games that get shown. I mean, we've talked about Duke Nukem Forever, but I mean, there's some games that are like perennial favorites almost.
Copyright 1993. We have
that's just
video.
The Sega CD splash screen.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
But this game was supposed to come out in April 95.
So I mean, there's some games like Activision had that Las Vegas game, that GTA style Las Vegas game that in the merge, or not Activision, Midway through their acquisition through Warner Brothers and whatnot. Like, I don't think the game's ever happening, but that was shown at an E3. So Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors was a title that was announced in like January of 95 at CES in Las Vegas. Which was probably the last video game heavy CES before E3.
What was the goal of the game? I mean, was it like a Toe Jam and Earl kind of thing?
No, see, this is what was great about it. It was a bunch of mini games. Yeah,
it was much. If you've ever read Penn and Teller's books, How to Play with Your Food, Cruel Tricks for Dear Friends, How to Play in Traffic, it's a weird mishmash of you could tell that they're scatterbrained geniuses who have all these high-minded ideas that they want to try out, and some of them work out brilliantly. Others are experiments that maybe didn't come out the way they want. So in one book, you'll have several tricks that you could play that are easy for you to learn, that you could mess with your friends. Then all of a sudden, you'll get a short essay written by Penn Jillette about what would happen if a network engineer got his hands on Aladdin's lamp. What kind of highly precise language would he use to trick the genie into giving him more wishes than the ones you would get? Or, and then you'll get another one that'll be an anecdote of, what really happened behind the scenes, how they did this one trick on the David Letterman show. And Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors kind of was that, in that it was this bizarre collection of, there was occasionally like games, but other were games that were intentionally made to be completely stupid, or games that were meant to be a magic trick,
here's a great example. One of the mini games was Buzz Bombers, and it was a very elaborate mini game that's set up as a 2-player arcade shooter where each player controls one of the Buzz Bombers and has to kill enemies. So there's an introduction. It's set up like you can play this like a real game, and the idea was to show this to your friend, like, hey, check out this game Buzz Bombers, but their controller wouldn't necessarily work, and you would always win if you were player 1, and you could do little pranks to sabotage your friend essentially, and play this trick on him. And this is actually one of the games that they had. So in very Penn and Teller style, it was going to be the CD release that had essentially all these little tricks. Sun Scorcher was another one. So you could essentially, where Sun Scorcher would claim to have thermographics and would give you sort of like a joke screen. So it would be a game that was set up all to an elaborate prank.
We actually have some video
Probably
of
the
this.
most famous of all the games.
Which we'll get to in a second, Brian. You want to save that? We're going to show some footage of the rest of it?
Sure. Yeah, no, actually, I'll save it.
Yeah. So let's just see. We got a little bit of footage from
Let's
this
take
here.
a look at technology back in 95.
And you can find this through means we won't discuss, but it's the retro gaming circuit. Because, like I said, this game was never actually released. But you can find the betas were sent out to journalists.
Probably means it's on the internet.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere out there
dark
on the internet.
So it's kind of like Star Fox 2.
Yeah. And, the Sega CD, I think that was part of the reason why the game was killed, because I think the Sega CD was pretty close to dead.
At least it didn't come out on 32X.
Yeah.
I mean, this is at least one platform that kind of was around for a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember it reinvigorated Dana Plato's career for a little bit.
And this is
Yes.
my partner, Teller. Welcome to our video game, Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors. This is Absolute Entertainment's top secret Ultramat testing center, where Teller and I have spent the last year.
I remember the greatest thing at the show where they showed this was they had a great press event where we got to see Penn and Teller live and meet them. Hearing Teller talk is really weird.
Yeah, I've seen him in actually, I think, a documentary. He does talk. It's weird.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time because this was kind of when the internet was still new.
Typical shoot 'em, kick 'em, jump 'em video.
But let's jump ahead and show the Brian, do you want to describe the most famous feature of Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors?
Yeah, the most famous one. This was a time when violence in video games was really coming under attack. When
the pointless and repetitive nature of it was coming under attack as well.
Yes, exactly. And so they were like, their whole thing is like, fine, you guys hate violence in video games. You hate how pointless it is. Let's do something. Here's your video game that I'm sure you would love. It's called Desert Bus. And in it, you drive a bus from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. And each time you make it correctly, it's a straight line, then you get 1 point. And I believe it took 8 hours to drive.
Yeah, it was in real time. And the bus tilted lightly. The steering was, I think, lightly to the right or left. So you couldn't just leave it on autopilot, and there were turns. So you essentially had to play this game.
Now, who's the group that for charity will play Desert Bus?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For hours and hours at a time. It's one of the gamer groups online, but yeah, it's the boring.
Child's Play. It's for Child's Play.
There you go. That's right. For I think for like cancer research or something for children or something.
Yeah. So they've raised tens of thousands of dollars, including donations apparently from Penn and Teller themselves.
And they will live stream as they sit there and play the boringest game ever made.
And it's from Los Angeles to Arizona. Now, what's interesting is at the time, and I remember them bragging about this at the press event, was the idea was if you recorded yourself playing this and if you could get the record, because each time you make the full trip over like 5 hours, you get 1 point. So they were going to essentially have something where to the people that got the most points, they were actually going to have a contest where they flew them out to Las Vegas to get on a bus and make an actual trip in a bus with Penn and Teller.
That is awesome. In the chat room, Dryosense says it was loading ready run last year and that they raised $204,000 playing the world's most boring video game.
The funny thing is, if you watching these videos, you can remember what Sega CD was famous for. CD quality audio, remember that? And full motion video.
With like 256 colors.
Well, it was still better than what we used to have, which was like nothing.
So, I mean, they've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars off this game that's never been released officially.
And this is the game.
Yeah.
This is driving a bus.
Desert Bus.
The guy stopped steering it. You can see it does list off to one side.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. So the thing about this game, and part of the reason why I think it has such a cult following, I can tell you that every journalist that was at that event and everyone that went to CES in 95 of the year, this was the game we talked about. And it was just, it's one of those rare instances where the humor trumps the gameplay, because admittedly, the gameplay is so random and weird between Desert Bus, where you essentially have a 5-hour driving sim to nowhere, or a game that's a joke on a friend. But every journalist was so on board with this. It's really a shame the game never came out. It would have been interesting to see what it actually sold.
I'm gonna say perversely, and nobody on this planet is a bigger fan of Penn and Teller than me, and few people are bigger fans of video games than I am. I'm gonna say that 99% of everything we wanted to get from this game, we got from the story of the game.
Yeah.
Their point got across. I would say that having this go out and be a commercially misunderstood item to where people were returning it like, what the hell is this thing? I don't get it.
Well, I mean,
I think there was virtually nothing to be gained by the story actually being released, by the game being released.
It's possible that the whole thing was a joke.
Oh, no, but it was real.
No, I mean, as in Penn and Teller decided
Penn and Teller got paid. Penn and Teller were dead serious about it because they got paid a licensing fee.
Oh, yeah, they're dead serious about a lot of things.
Here's what I loved about the mid-'90s and the weird birth of the bubble.com economy is that companies would toss millions of dollars at this game, but yes, entirely as a joke. It's a very good joke. But I mean, isn't it wonderful? Because now, you know what it's like? Forget Penn and Teller for a second. You could see a game like this now being programmed by an indie developer.
Oh, yeah.
Just for kicks, and it would be something that would probably catch on viral word of mouth. But this was, this was being given an A-level push. I mean, imagine for a second what Absolute Entertainment coincidentally went out of business shortly thereafter, which tells you something. But they paid money for the Penn and Teller license. I mean, do you know what it costs alone to do an E3 or CES press event?
$7.
I mean, they did it in the ballroom of where Penn and Teller were. I think it was at Bally's. So just imagine they spent probably tens of thousands of dollars just doing the press event for this game at CES. I mean, so they put a lot of money into a very funny joke.
That's too bad. You can try to find it online if you want to. We're not going to point to where that is because that would be a lot of trouble for us. And it's on to our something of the week. It's either user review or kill of the week. And
we have an intro.
We actually have something.
Well, we have something that I found, but Joshua Caleb, who hosts the Retro Games Forever, the Retro Games Forever, put together a little intro. We have two intros, one that I did audio and one that he did video. I guess we could show his audio one first.
Okay.
Or his video one first. Do you see the link there, Alex, on the doc?
We're in beta, kids.
Random Awesome?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is the video intro he made.
He used the Sony sound.
I like that. That's awesome.
So, and I just put together this little audio thing. Maybe we'll merge the two, the winner thing that I made.
And where's
we'll
that?
just play
Everybody's a winner.
Okay, wait a minute. That one's really good. Okay.
Yeah, I have all these audio production CDs of like terrible generic radio voiceover things. So that and the Galaga sound.
You might want to combine those two.
Yeah, I think we need to combine the two for our intro to this segment. So we have two this week of our random awesome of the week. One is a live action version of Portal that was done on stage. I guess this was at a cosplay festival. We'll just show a little bit of this, and then I'll put up the links to both on my Twitter.
We are now ready to begin the test. The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
We won't show the whole thing because
we have context for this. Is this?
This was at I believe someone in the chat room was saying this was at Fanime in San Jose.
Okay, this wasn't some kind of talent competition at high school.
No, if this was high school, that would be the coolest thing ever.
I'm just saying, like, it's possible.
I don't think kids are quite that hip. Maybe they are.
Actually, I'll take that back. I think the kids are just as hip because there was a high school talent show where they did something just like this, only they used black art and puppetry to do a real life version of
Super Mario Brothers, I think.
Super Mario Brothers, yeah.
Well, I could see that, but I'm not sure Portal would get as much of a reaction at high school. Maybe it would. I would hope so.
Well, that's true.
Well, that's right. The reaction is kind of telling a bit.
Yeah. So I really dig it, and I like the audience reaction. Awesome. I like that it's kind of amateurish because I just think it's really cool. So we'll put if you want to watch the whole thing, just go to my Twitter, which I just put in the chat room there, twitter.com/Glenn Rubenstein. Just tweeted out the YouTube link to that video where you can watch the whole thing. And then we have a second Portal-themed video in our Random Awesome, which we'll just show a little bit of, which someone made a fan film, a short film, which is Shell's life outside of Aperture, essentially taking off on the idea of the end of Portal 1. We could just show a little bit of this. As you can see, I mean, the production quality of this, I mean, is very good for a fan film. I thought it was very well done.
It doesn't look like it's amateurish at all. It's unbelievable. So if you're just hearing the audio stream for some reason, turn on the video stream right now.
Yes. But it's kind of long, so we won't show the whole thing. But again, check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/Glenn Rubenstein, where you can see links to both of these Portal-themed videos. And you can also read my random tweets, including tweets that I tweet at Schwood that he never replies to.
You guys can hash that out in Meat Space.
What you're talking about.
Because you don't follow me on Twitter, man.
You guys will be you guys can hash that out at E3 next week. So
hold on, let me see. I really don't. It's Glenn Rubenstein, all one word, right?
Yeah, 2 N's.
So on that note, I think that wraps up this episode. What do you think?
Well, Schwood and I could probably do another hour.
I know you guys can.
I'm just saying.
There are I don't know, other reasons to do that. To stop the show.
I'll tell you what, you'll get 4 hours of live stream goodness live from the floor at E3, and then we're going to be doing NSFW afterwards, and maybe we'll go live after NSFW, and you and I can do a recap on Tuesday night if Jammer B wants to hang around, because I'm sure that you and I will have plenty to talk about after.
Yeah, next Friday, come back for At the Controls. We're going to have our full E3 recap.
Maybe. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's a recap of awesome.
We should have an E3 recap where
the worst of the
we
worst.
actually focus on all the terrible stuff that was in
it.
it.
No, and
definitely
I mean,
a segment.
If you want to get, once we've had the point to fully digest the E3 experience, I think next Friday's show we're going to have some really good stuff. We're going to be live streaming from the floor of the Los Angeles Convention Center at E3 next Tuesday on TWiT. I think starting at 11, I want to say. I don't know. Check the schedule.
We got a schedule. Check it out. It's going to be great. I mean, there's all kinds of things we're waiting for. Nintendo's next project.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called, Project Cafe, whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what's coming out of this.
No, it should be really good. It should be really cool. But
next week at the same time, we will not do a recap.
A recap
on E3. Glenn will be there. Brian will be there. Alex will be here because he's chained to the desk.
Yes, we don't let him out. That's how we keep everything moving and going. And some people also, just quick shouts because people in the chat room mentioned it. I wanted to mention it. The Duke Nukem Forever demo is out. So further proof that the game actually exists and is happening. Although, like
You're
many
such an
people.
Optimist.
I say Glenn becomes a Duke Nukem denier. He becomes one of these crazy people who be like, didn't happen. I didn't see the game.
Exactly.
Whole
Bring me
cult
the
of
evidence.
people who
Show me
don't
the
believe
proof. It could be a mock-up.
I'll believe it when I see
an indie fan product.
Yeah. No, I think that I think it's finally happening. We could probably do an entire show just on Duke Nukem and the delays. Perhaps we will later in the month.
That'd be a good episode. The 14 years.
Yes.
What the heck happened?
We could track down developers that have worked on it. It'll be fantastic.
It should be pretty easy. It's probably like half the population of the United States.
Yeah.
At this point.
When was that first announced?
It was 14 years ago.
Man.
So that's like what 90.
I remember seeing the demo for it the first time I went to E3 in Atlanta, 1997, I believe. Wow.
And as you can see from the lower third, this is still a beta show. So if you got suggestions,
if you have suggestions, ideas, thoughts, feel free to send something to twitgameshow@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/Glenn Rubenstein. We'll talk about, a little more reader feedback and whatnot. Probably post next week's show. And once we get through E3, we'll get a little bit back more into the regular format that we're aiming for before we launch officially in July. Let's see, Alex, do you have the new outro queued up and ready to go? Well, then until next time, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, reminding you that time enjoyed is never time wasted as long as you're at the controls.
digging this tune.
We all do the robots.
That's right. There's only one dance that any I don't know. Any self-respecting geek only knows the one dance.
Only one person can do. It's the robots.
This took a good 10 minutes for me to put together an FL Studio.
FL Studio?
Yeah, Fruity Loops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Reason guy myself, but yeah.
Originally, I used this for a mashup that I put together using 2 acapellas, one of the Beastie Boys, Shake Your Rump, and Debbie Gibson's Shake Your Love.
You're recycling music
that I used in a mashup.
Oh, come on, man. Original.
I like this. But you can hear the drums. That's like I was trying to mimic the Shake Your Love drum beat. Because I couldn't find a good instrumental. So, I created something original for it.
I like that. Awesome. You're defending it by saying, I'm trying to recreate the Shake Your Love thing.